I've been writing since I was a little girl. But sometimes, because people don't understand what's going on with you, they can't encourage you. And when I used to tell people I was an artist, I like to write poetry, I like to do these things, they would look at me, because I'm from the projects, you know. Sojourner Truth Projects over here on the northeast side of Detroit. Atkinson, Farwell, Persian, Go Go Boys, you know. So, they didn't understand it. So, of course, I kind of ran from what I love to do. And I used to write poetry in college, and I was so insecure about what I love to do that I wouldn't even put my name on my own poetry. I'd write it, and then I'd just put it on my wall. And if you were close enough to me to come to my room, and you sat in my room long enough and you read it and you asked me about it, then I might tell you that I wrote it, okay? And the reason that it spoke to me that Anita had me come here, and why I'm gonna tell you about this book, is the fact that I came into my artistry running from it for 20-some years. So I came into my artistry at 30. So that was my 20. Okay? So in that, I started off with a friend, and I was one of those, I had a girlfriend that was a go-getter, so I could fall to the back. And we could sell our books together, and she could go say hi to everybody because she didn't know any strangers. Whereas if somebody looked at me crazy, I might go cry for 2 weeks. So I just float to the background. She sold her books and I sold mine. But as you travel together, people's goals change. And she was in education and I was in education, taught for DPS. So the difference is that she went to school for it. I went to school for radio. So I could work with children, but it wasn't my love, it wasn't my passion. So I would be stressed and I would be disgruntled. Didn't take long. It was long before the trauma of DPS now, but that was my struggle. Case in point, when our things started changing, she had opened me up to artistry and I found that I loved it. And I didn't want to leave it. And I didn't want my movement ended to be dependent upon someone else. So once again, I had to face my fears and come away from the background. That happened around 35. Thank God I had a husband of 17 years that kept pushing me every time I tried to fall back. So I created my own company. And I created my radio show. Because I met somebody 10 years younger than me when I put out my first book, and he was interviewing me. I threw out a word that said, that let him know that I was studying broadcasting, and he told me to come do a show. I said all that to say that sometimes you can run from yourself only to be redirected into a circle right back into your own destiny. So now I have my own radio show. It's called Back on the B-Side. It's a retro, throwback, old school show. It comes on the internet, so it's on 7 Mile Radio. Well, that's where I'm from. So it's all divine order, And then I started looking at myself as I came into the age of 40, because now I'm 43. And I came into the age of 40 and started looking back on my life and say, dang, I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 40. Yeah, kind of missed that boat. I wanted to be Oprah. That didn't work out. So I started to get down on myself, and once again, those insecurities crept back in, and I was questioning myself, Plus, menopause started to creep up on me, so I was sweating for no reason and didn't really understand why, Well, my first love was always poetry, I told you that. So my grandmother and my mom, I decided to sit down and talk to them and tell them everything that I was going through. They told me 2 things. One, don't be down on yourself for the things that you haven't done by a particular point, because you're still living, which means you have time to still do. So there's no need to be upset about that. So when you look back on some of the mistakes you made, I'm a recoverer from bankruptcy. I done lost cars, houses. Only thing I didn't lose was my man and my mind. Okay? I raised my baby. I got a little girl, and then I have my son. So I'm like, I'm doing all right. Then we started talking about this menopause thing. And my mama said, oh, you getting a little warm, you say? Let me tell you about all this and all that. And so what I decided today was to share with you guys a poem. There was one that Anita wanted me to share that's about my love for Detroit. So I'm gonna do that one at the end. But I'm gonna do this one in relation to what they told me and how they told me to look at menopause and growing old. Okay? So the name of the poem is called Growing Gray. Okay. Here we go. old saying that goes, grow old gracefully, whatever the hell that means. My muscles ache, my bones are sore, and sometimes even my sex drive is self-seen. Grow old gracefully. What a crazy thought. Many of my friends don't even have their own teeth anymore because the ones they wear were bald. Okay? Grow old gracefully. Let's talk about what used to be my curvy, voluptuous figure. Truth be told, it'd be a sin if I wasn't well held in because this lower tummy keep getting bigger. Okay? And let's talk about the time, right at the time when my teeth were starting to fall straight out of my mouth. It was the same time where my breast and Perky Cleveland decided to go south. They say grow old gracefully. How can I grow old gracefully when my short-term and my long-term memory just isn't what it used to be, right? So, rather than, I'm guessing that a better progression to express this aging would be a better way, right? It'd be a better way to express this. So, rather than focusing on going old, focus on going gray. It's not so derogatory if you think of aging in this way. Growing gray is good because adolescence and puberty are over. I've already endured the long nights of kicking it, thus discovering it's best to stay sober. I also have done my long time of labor, so now I don't need to work. But I still know those who do, and I watch them go with a wave and a smile. From the start, the best part is that my children are no longer babies, and they are finally out of my house. Now, I have my husband to myself. I'm free to travel, spoil my grandkids, then throw them all the hell out. And there's a lot more good to point out, much more than I have time to say. Just remember to try your best to live with little stress so you can smile, living a more better lifestyle, growing great. Your way. So that's that, right? So I started doing my poetry, going around the city, started talking or whatever, and I thought about what my mom told me in reference to getting older and looking at your missteps and things that you've done wrong, all of your mistakes. And if you're blessed to get older, because I've never known anybody to come back from death, they can't really tell me what it's all about, so I'm going to trust the ones who are still here and the ones who live longer than me. And if you are able to get to the more better lifestyle, you'll be able to give a toast to your inner fool. Because that person got you to where you are today. Oftentimes we learn from our mistakes more than we do our successes. So that's kind of what this book is about. It is about, 5 friends battling with the biggest fool they've ever known, themselves. And if you could get yourself through it, if you could get yourself to it, then you and God can get you through it. It's that simple. So that's kind of what this book is about. From that, when I met Anita, it was one other thing. When I decided to do my branding, the B-side, now I have B-side books. So Toast to the Fool is the latest release, but we also have the Black College Sabbatical, because I'm from a Black College, so I got 3 trilogy urban fiction novels that's about that experience. But then also, get back on the B-side radio show. So one of the things in my brand is to always remember where I come from. And the poem that inspired Anita, or that she liked, and I'm so happy she did, is a poem that I did about where I'm from, about the city of Detroit. So I'd like to share that with you now. I'm going to leave y'all alone, but if y'all want Toast to the Fool or anything like that, I got the square. Thank you so much, and shout out to Dominique for buying it on Kindle. Thank you so much for the bridge for that. So let me give you guys, the name of this poem is called My Dear Detroit. My dear Detroit, this place has redesigned my grind. It has fueled me while it schooled me, spreading the east side spit shine on my intellectual rhyme. And while we can see it's gritty, Detroit is still my city. And we don't need your pity for those who play here or those who stay here, nor for those who spend their days here. Know why? Because even through fear, we find a way here to progressively persevere. Not so much aggressively, but I want to make it clear. Those that be like me, we live with the bankruptcy and the blight. The rise in crime causing folks to live in fright. Got more people packing pieces over praying just to sleep peacefully at night. But do you see the emotional citizen underscore, the criticism of those who dare to do more than just moan and groan about everything wrong that's going on? Where's the light on all that's good? And why do they act like there's no fight in our neighborhoods? Even in subpar schools, we still breed scholars. Got big businesses on the boom despite the doom, bringing and building new dollars. But it's rare that they dare to talk about any of that, rather perpetuate the gloom in most rooms that the Motor City will never come back. And for me, that's hella whack. Because this isn't the first time the world has had its eye on us. You know, you travel by horse and buggy till wheel met with steel, thus manufacturing the cars for which you lust and trust, built by the best of the big three, how did that be us? We move the masses with techno and the Motown sound, and quiet as it's kept, we're your training template right now. Got us on stare down, trying to learn how to turn your other fallen cities around. The way I see it, the world is used to watching the way we move. Detroit-bred artistry, poetry, movie, films, books, all on a quiet, constant upward groove. We don't really know how or allow the lose, and we don't wallow in despair. We'll dig in our heels and get our better selves all up and through there. Roll up our sleeves, tie up our weaves, dust off our butt if we fall on our luck, only to flip the script and fall on our knees. All in an effort to juggle whatever struggle, to live how we damn well please. So don't you dare feel pity for the people of my city. Because in Detroit, we grind so we can shine. From the east side to the west side. From 8 Mile to Jefferson where the river smiles. We can't hardly hide, always on that 313 pride. So stand up, my dear Detroit, where the gritty is pretty. Forever a clever work in progress, just like me, Tia Leaks, proudly out of the Motor City. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you guys. Now I'm spoiled.